I've been seeing blue every time you move. I want it all, rise and fall. Can I drown in an indigo pool of you? I've been chasing ghosts.
Welcome to the very first episode of The Magic Coast. I'm Becca Tacey. Thank you for joining us as we are going to begin a brand new series celebrating life, art, and community in Cape Ann. So this is Jason Burnett. He's the creator and the producer behind the show. Jason, why don't you tell us a little bit about why you decided to create this show?
Sure. I moved here in 2023 and instantly fell in love with Rockport and Cape Ann generally. It is, in fact, a magic place. And I noticed from immediately after moving here that I had a much more positive outlook. I was healthier, I was more active, I was more outgoing. And from that, I wondered if anyone else had similar experiences to me.
And that's where the kernel from the show began.
Correct, yes. It was just this desire to both give back to this wonderful place and honestly get to know my neighbors. And the show seemed like an excellent way to do that, especially since, this is an artist colony. So, along with being a healthier person, it also sort of reawoke on this drive to create something.
And today we have something special coming. Do you want to tell everyone who is here in the studio with us and what we're going to do
Sure.
today?
Our first interview would be a gentleman named Jim Clyde. He comes from a family that has been on this magic coast for generations. And one of the way he's decided to give back is this really interesting project at the First Old Parish Burial Cemetery, in which they're restoring the cemetery and the gravestones. Now, I walk by this cemetery every day, and it is in such a beautiful location right across the street from Front Beach, which has some of the greatest sunsets I've ever seen. I'm going to say something real cliche, but it literally looks like a painting.
Wow.
And right across from there, you have this sort of forever place where Alcania folks have made their final resting home. And you have these amazing people who volunteer their time to restore that cemetery to make sure that will be there for future generations. And I was really excited to bring their story to an audience, both through some on location footage we have of actually the people doing this restoration, and with Jim, who was kind enough to be with us here today.
Well, that's wonderful. I can't wait to talk to him and find out more about the project and his involvement.
Yes, and also to close us out here today, in studio, we have this amazing performer. Her name is Eva James. I think I first came across her music on social media, so it's not all bad, and just fell in love with her amazing voice and her lyrics. She is both very authentic and honest, and as the name of one of the songs she's going to do indicates, invincible, really strong. And I just immediately was taken with her lyrics, and as I said, her amazing voice. So I was really, really excited to be able to get her in the studio today for two songs. One of which I'm excited today is going to be our theme song for the Magic Coast, Blue Dreams. Going forward, you'll be able to hear it every time you tune in, and I'm really excited for that and thankful for her.
That's a very special treat. So I'm looking forward to it, and we all are. I hope you guys love what's coming. One of Cape Ann's quiet treasures is the First Old Parish Burial Ground, where history and nature meet as this landmark overlooks Rockport's beautiful Front Beach. We spent some time there to learn about local restoration efforts, keeping this space alive for future generations. Here's a look at the restoration efforts happening right now in Rockport.
All right, so I'm Andrea Quinn. I'm the vice president at the Sandy Bay Historical Society and the co-chair with Rich on this project for the cemetery restoration.
And I'm Rich Fitzpatrick. I'm a clinical psychologist, and I've been on the Sandy Bay Historical Society board for a couple of years now. And when I first came, they said to me, well, Peter Beecham has passed away, but he had the vision for restoring this burial ground, which has been here since 1732.
So it starts by assessing the stone to make sure that the stone is in good condition from a structural standpoint. If it's in a good position, then we use different cleaning products. So we start with spraying the stone down with water, and then using non-abrasive tools to scrape the lichen and other types of debris that might be on the stone, and then getting into the crevices with more pointed, so you can bring out the epitaphs, the names, and the dates there. We use D2 to spray over it, and then that's what helps restore it back to its original state.
The D2 is a solution that's been used in grave site restorations in cemeteries around the country. It's been used for a number of years. It's ecologically safe. It doesn't hurt the ground or hurt the grass or hurt the stone. It simply allows the lichen and moss and dirt to be lifted off the stone. And then we use water to wash it off. And over the course of a couple of weeks, it literally turns the stone, bleaches it white again, like it was originally. One of the things that's really been fascinating to me is that I anticipated when we first began this project that we would have people saying, why are you up in the graveyard doing that work and disturbing the stones? And do you have a right to do that? And, getting a lot of resistance and a lot of questions. That is not what happened. I can't think of a single person who said, why are you here? Why are you doing this? What we've heard over and over again is thank you, thank you, thank you for doing this. This is a wonderful acknowledgement of the great history of Rockport, bringing it back to life. And an example of that is that the teachers over at the Rockport Elementary and Middle School and High School have said, we can't wait till you guys are done because we want to come there with our students and do field trips and study the history and some of the famous people who are buried here.
So it began with a lot of heavy lifting, trying to get the funding to do it, because it's not an inexpensive task. It, over the course of 3 years, it's probably about $150,000 project that we're working on. So, a lot of grant writing. Rich was fortunate enough to get some money to start us off through Awesome Rockport. And then we continued the process working with the town, and we went to the Community Preservation Committee to ask for a lot more money. And we were just awarded $62,000 to do some of the more detailed part of the stone restorations.
We have a terrific group of volunteers that we've gathered. A number of people from Rockport's Rotary have volunteered, and we have other volunteers. In fact, we have a number of people who are just walking by saying, what are you doing here? Hey, that's interesting. Can we help? And we would just show them how the grave cleaning happens and ask them to jump in and help.
So you could contact the Sandy Bay Historical Society. We have a website out there. We have a Facebook page, and that information is there. I think it's info@Sandy Bay Historical Society. And then anybody that was interested could certainly call the Historical Society, email us, and we'd be happy to get more people involved.
This is the gravestone of Richard Tarr, and he was the first settler of Rockport. He was born in Wales, and he lived in Saco, Maine before he came here in 1690. He donated part of this land that we're standing on for this burial ground, establishing a resting place that would serve generations. This monument was erected in 1854 by the town of Rockport and marks both the final resting place and his significant local memory.
Richard Tarr happens to be my 8th great grandfather on my mother's side. And an interesting bit of history that I don't think a lot of people know about is the fact that Richard's mother-in-law, whose name was Elizabeth Austin Dicer, was accused of witchcraft and locked up in Ipswich for about a month. So a bunch of frantic neighbors of Richard's, including Richard, wrote letters proclaiming her innocence, and she was finally let go, to probably great relief of her family. Well, yes, it's significant, at least to the town of Rockport, obviously, to Cape Ann in particular, and me. I happen to go back to also John Poole, whose great-grandson married his great-granddaughter. So Hannah Tarr and Moses Poole were my 5th great-grandparents, I guess, which is of interest to me and probably not no one else. But yes, it's nice to see it restored and preserved for future historians.
So we are standing at Hannah Jumper. She's probably the most famous person from the town's history that's buried here. And I happen to be a relative of hers. She was an aunt of mine. I think it was 10th grade aunt. She was also a Parsons, and there's a book written about her, her life, and her contribution to the town by Eleanor Parsons. It's a really great resource for anybody that wanted to learn more about her. She was born in 1781 and she lived until 1865. She was a seamstress in town, so a lot of women would go to where she lived down by Dock Square. And she also became somebody that they trusted, so they would tell their stories about how their husbands would go out to sea and come back and spend all their money on alcohol when they came back into town. So the women were really pretty destitute at that time. They didn't have a lot of money, and in the winter months, it became very, very difficult to support their families. So what Hannah did with about 200 women is they had decided that they were going to go through town with hatchets hidden underneath their shawls and break apart all the barrels of whiskey, alcohol that was hidden in different shops. So on July 8th of 1856, around 9 o'clock in the morning, they all gathered at Hannah's home and they marched through town. They weren't stopped. They surprised all the men, all their husbands. She was a very ordinary woman in town, but with all the women coming to her and saying how problematic the drinking had become, it was out of control. She rallied all these women. There were a few men that joined them, but it was mostly women. Like I said, about 200 of them went through town for approximately 2 hours and eliminated alcohol in Rockport for over 100 years. It's kind of surreal that we had the opportunity to do this. I think Hannah is always going to be an intricate part of the town's history just because of the legacy that she left behind. And the town stayed dry, I don't know for how many years, but a very, very long time. It's only been in recent years that the town has been able to serve and sell some alcohol. So it's amazing to me that a tall, red-headed spinster of a woman was able to rally 200 women in town to take it upon themselves because of their passion, because they really were against alcohol. They were temperance leaders to be able to do this. And that legacy lasted for so many years. It's remarkable to me that an ancestor of mine had that much ability and that much, I guess, willpower to do it. So behind us are William Grover Jr. and Clarissa Grover. They are my third great grandparents. I believe that's the right time back. Clarissa lived a long life. She died in 1916, and William lived typical age span, and he died in 1885 at 61. It really goes back to my grandmother. She was a Parsons. Her name was Lucy Parsons, and she lived to be 100. And our family had once owned Salt Island in Gloucester. She was a woman who, the back of every picture that she has, dates, names, and where they were. So I think I just always had a passion for learning about my family history. When I went to college, I became a history teacher. So I've always had that passion. I write for different articles more on Civil War history than on local history. But the local history is kind of the foundation and just where my own interest started. And then to be part of this and to actually be standing here today is kind of giving me chills, besides being cold. But it's an amazing process of everything we've done. It's heartwarming to see the community come together and the volunteers. Like Rich said earlier, there were people at the beach at our last cleaning. Young kids came and they were cleaning the stones. It makes me just feel so good that we're giving this back to the community. On my mother's side, on the Parsons side, who were from Gloucester, and Rockport is only separated from Gloucester in the 1840. So Cape Ann was, one community at a time. I had an ancestor by the name of Esther Dutch. They were pretty wealthy landowners, and it seems like the wealthy were targeted as potential witches. And she was accused in 1692, just at the end of the witch trials, and doing my own family genealogy on Ancestry, I came across her arrest warrant. So she never went to jail, fortunately, because it was towards the end of the hysteria. but it was just another cool piece of my own family history that I have a temperance leader and a witch. Since we've been doing this, more and more people are walking through the cemetery, and not just as a pass through, but walking through it to actually stop and read and are becoming interested. So part of our 3-year journey on this is to install waysides that will have QR codes. So people could use their cell phone, they could pull up the QR code, and we'll have descriptions of who these individuals are, so that, it's not just their stone, it's their life and their history and what their contribution was to the community. These stones were covered in lichen, so you could barely see them. And when I walked through today, it's the first time I've seen them in quite a while. And you can just see how the D2 has brought their names back. It was painstaking going through the carving to get their names visible again. So it is very personal. It makes me feel really good that I've been able to do this. And a lot of my own immediate family did not even know about William and Clarissa Grover, knowing that they were buried here and that they were our great-great-grandparents. It's really hard to describe, honestly, but it just kind of warms my heart that we're able to do this and get not only our own family members, but other members in the community that have been kind of lost to history. There's so many people that are buried here that probably don't have family anymore, and their gravestones have just been left to deteriorate over time. And, we're taking this upon ourselves to bring their names back to life.
Joining us now is Jim Clyde, and he is a volunteer helping preserve the old parish ground whose own family history is deeply tied to Cape Ann. So let's welcome Jim. Jim, it's so nice to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Nice to be here.
So you've got roots here in Essex, and could you tell us a little bit more maybe about your family connection to the area?
Sure. My paternal grandparents were from Scotland, but on my mother's side of the family is either Cape Ann Yankee, which I discovered about 20 years ago,
Okay.
or Scot. They intermingled, I guess. But my interest began when my aunt showed me an obituary, a clipping from a newspaper. It was an obituary of my great-great-grandfather's sister.
Okay.
And her name was Margaret Van Brunt Moore Gossman. But it mentioned that she died at 100 in the old colonial home that had been given, the land had been given to her ancestor, Samuel Moore, by King George.
Oh,
I thought,
okay.
oh, I never knew that. No one in the family ever knew that. So I decided to dig a little deeper on my mother's side of the family, and had a lot of fun researching the genealogy, and discovered that, like most people on Cape Ann, I go back to all these old families. I think I'm related to everybody on Cape Ann. Haskells and Andrews and Withams and Pools and Tars and Babsons.
Wow.
So,
what does it mean to you personally to be involved with the resting place of your relatives?
it was very, I won't say it was emotional, but it was nice to see where I think Moses was my great-great-great-grandfather, or maybe four. I knew he was there. I knew his father was there. So when I heard that they were going to be doing some restoration, I thought that'd be fun to go and find him and clean up his stone.
Okay,
So
and
that's
that's
what I
how it
did.
started.
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago, I went down there, and there's a fellow who has a restoration business, restoring cemeteries and gravestones. It's fascinating, actually, what he can do.
Okay. So what about any family stories? Have you uncovered anything through your research that you want to, that maybe surprised you or you didn't know about your family?
Plenty of things I didn't know about, because no one in the family had really been interested in digging into it. And it was so easy to go to the Gloucester vital records, for example. And I knew my great-grandmother was Lucy Foster Poole. So you go to the records, and it says she was born in 1838, daughter of Moses Poole and Charlotte Babson Rowe. And then you look up Charlotte, and it shows her parents. You look up Moses, and you just keep going back. It was fascinating. But I found, probably the most interesting thing I found was that Richard Tarr's mother-in-law, Richard Tarr is my eighth great-grandfather, his mother-in-law was accused of witchcraft and locked up in Ipswich for a month. Her name was Elizabeth Austin Dicer. Fortunately, she was not killed.
Wow, that is a very interesting story to find out about your family. My next question is, for anyone that hasn't seen the work that you're doing up close, and tell us a little bit about like what goes into restoring the bricks, the historic headstones. What kind of work does it take?
Well, I guess there are two types of headstones. You have the slate, which is beautiful and it doesn't deteriorate. And then you have what's called sugar marble, which Moses Pool consists of, which deteriorates over time. It's like
Okay.
you can feel it's grainy.
Mhm.
But this fellow who runs this restoration project has this system where you just spray water on and take a plastic scraper and scrape off the lichen, which is the major stuff.
Yeah.
And then he has a biodegradable liquid that you spray on, which cleans the rest of the stone. And apparently, if you cleaned it off, and when you're done, you spray it again with this chemical.
Mhm.
I shouldn't say chemical; it's a biodegradable, whatever,
Mhm.
and it turns it white. Apparently, I can't wait to go back and see
Yeah.
what Moses looks like.
This restoration project, like, how do you feel it's brought the community together? What do you think it's done to make people feel more sense of togetherness in the community?
Well, I guess it makes you more aware of your history and your family. And 2 or 3 of the people I met there also doing the cleanup turned out to be related. Through, I swear everybody's related on Cape Ann.
I
But
guess so.
uh,
And then, all right. So, why do you think it's important this restoration project? Why do you think it's important for Cape Ann and for the citizens here?
well, for future generations to be able to go and actually research their ancestors.
Absolutely. History is such an integral part of us becoming better in the future. We need to be able to look back and save what we already have.
Yep.
All right. So, if you're not volunteering, what's your favorite place to go along the coast in Essex?
I knew you were going to ask me that. I have no one particular spot. I live in Essex. I overlook the marsh. I do some plein air landscape painting in oil, and I go out to the Greenbelt on the marsh or down Island Road.
Yeah.
I mean the harbors, Bearskin Neck, Bass Rocks.
Lots of places.
Oh.
Just by the ocean, and here is where your happiest place.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I've met people who have traveled all around the world, and they said, "This is beautiful. It's
That-
ideal."
Kind of leads me to my next question, which is, how do you feel like the sea and the ocean have shaped and affected like the community around here? How do you feel like it's impacted them, just being near the ocean and the sea?
I used to spend a lot of time on the ocean. I had a Rhodes 19 out of Manchester, and I used to race it every weekend. And I had an affinity to the water anyway, because I found that one of my great grandfathers had owned schooners out of Gloucester.
Mm-hmm.
No one ever knew this in the family, and one was named after him, and 2 were named after his business partner. So I have an affinity towards schooners, fishing, the water.
Yeah.
As far as the community, well, there's so many people that work on the water or in related industries. So it naturally draws you together.
Definitely has a huge impact on the economy for sure.
Yeah.
All right, I think I've got one more question for you,
Oh.
Jim. If you could tell future generations one thing about this place, what would it be?
Future generations.
Yeah.
Well, it's really the birthplace of this country in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you had some, a lot of the residents participated in the revolution. I had an ancestor, John Tarr, who walked all the way to Bunker Hill, fought at
Wow.
Bunker Hill. He survived. He was there with his son,
Mm-hmm.
who's not my ancestor, but there's so much history here that it's important to learn it and not forget it and be proud of it.
I love
I'm very
that.
proud of my ancestors.
Yeah, it truly is a special place.
Mm.
Well, I think that's all the questions I have for you, Jim. But I want to thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
and
you.
Thanks for being a part of the show. And
Thanks for asking me.
thank you guys for watching and tuning in and making us a part of your day.
Can I stay for Eva's performance?
100%. Not going to kick you out. Next, we'll head to an amazing rooftop overlooking Sandy Bay with Michelle Brown, Executive Director of Cape Ann Works. She's leading projects that connect creativity, education, and local businesses, like a new culinary arts and hospitality training center. So tell me a little bit more about what Cape Ann Works does.
So Cape Ann Works came out of COVID. A lot of businesses were struggling with being able to maintain just their basic operating hours.
Yeah.
At the time, I worked here for the town. I was the director of community engagement in the cultural district. So I worked closely with all of the businesses to understand what their struggles were and to work with them to find solutions. So we came out of that with some thoughts and ideas, and so approached Senator Tarr and said, so this is what we're thinking. How can, what are your thoughts? What can we do? And that started a whole working group in which we met on a regular basis to find solutions and work through things.
Okay.
So with that, with a member from the community here, a local gentleman who does a lot of development, he at about the same time said, hey, we need to figure out something to do with the blacksmith shop. And so let's work together to try to figure something out and make it happen. Of taking this very important building that's a historic cornerstone, so to speak, for Rockport.
That was my next question. Can you tell us a little history about the space, since we may not know?
Originally in 1780, the blacksmith shop up the street moved here. So this was a blacksmith shop, and that's why it has its name. And then in about 1920, in the 20s, Melissa Smith purchased the building and converted it to the blacksmith shop restaurant. We will be creating downstairs to become a culinary art and hospitality training center with workforce housing on the 2 floors above it.
Wonderful. Now, let me just backtrack a little bit. And I want to hear if you have maybe a success story that you can share with us about something that Cape Ann Works has done.
So from that first year of being able to have so many people working in the community, we were able to help more than 17 businesses that first year stay open and have hours that they wouldn't have been able to have if the community hadn't come together to create the program and have people working. Success stories go all the way down to an individual where one of the international students that came the first year was actually a medical student.
Okay.
And at Gordon College, they have a pond that people can swim in. And there was someone who was drowning, and the students happened to be there on their day off. And this gentleman saved this mother and child's life.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
So from a personal perspective to a professional perspective, the success stories are new and great every day.
Yeah. So I know you guys do a lot of work with the town, and you have a lot of collaborations. Can you help me understand how some of those collaborations may have expanded your outreach in any way?
So we have the Rwandan coffee. And so with every cup of coffee that is purchased here, it supports the Cape Ann Works mission of being able to create this program and do the historic renovation to the property. But it also helps with the Haven Project in Lynn, where it works with homeless young adults, 18 to 24. And then with the Rwandan people as well, with being able to support the different groups that raise and harvest the coffee. So with every cup of coffee, it goes far more than just the threefold of helping us, helping homeless in Lynn, and then helping the families in Rwanda as well. And it's been really special here in Rockport. We actually found out from someone who came in this summer that the honorary chancellor of the University of Rwanda actually lives right here in Rockport.
Wow.
And
what a small world.
Such a small world. And she has been absolutely fabulous, in which I've never been able to go to Rwanda. Don't know if I ever will. But to be able to connect with someone who not only knows it, but is so passionate and so connected to it. And she was able to come in and describe what the land is and what the hills are like, and knows the organization to be able to say, yes, this is a good organization. And we then were able to take it one step further. She brought us art from Rwanda, in which we have a great piece that's hanging on the wall. And she also brought these hand woven bread baskets. And the bread baskets are made by people who have been harmed during different times in Rwanda. And they now are part of this organization that makes these handcrafted bread baskets. And so actually today, she is flying to Rwanda for the graduation ceremony. And she's going to talk about where their coffee is now
Incredible.
and how it's here. And she's going to be bringing us more bread baskets back, in which we're going to be able to sell those here to support another mission in Rwanda and also help Cape Ann Works at the same time.
What a direct impact. There,
Direct.
that is a direct impact. That's wonderful.
Direct. Every cup
Yeah.
of coffee that we sell not only supports the project that we're doing here with working with the businesses and training employees for the
Yeah.
businesses,
Sure.
but then also helping the homeless young adults in Lynn, and then also helping those in
In
Rwanda.
Rwanda. And that's amazing. And so that segues into my next question. With the Culinary Center, how are you going to prepare people for a job in the industry, in the hospitality industry?
So thankfully, everything that we're doing is apprenticeship style learning. And so it's more than just front and back of house. We are going to do chef training, management training. There's more to hospitality, the hospitality world, than just being able to clean a table. There's value in each person and so with our program, we really want to develop it to be something that can help each individual person
Sure.
become the person that they need to be in a sustainable way.
So what are your hopes? Like, what do you see this center bringing to Cape Ann community?
So, on face value, it's the renewing of this building that is so important to so many. And all summer long, we were thankful enough to have countless people come in and tell us their stories every day. What this building means, when did they work here, who did they work for, what were their work stories, when did they come for a meal here, the special occasions that were celebrated here. So to bring that back and to give it so that they're looking forward to it. They can't wait to bring their kids. They can't wait to bring their grandkids. They can't wait to be a part of it. To being able to, work with whatever individual, whether they're looking for the safe place to work where they can be treasured for the individual that they are, or is it someone who's looking to develop more?
Yeah.
And what does that development look like, and how can we help and support them get to that point? So, this is in partnership with 8 restaurants on Cape Ann.
Good.
So
okay.
this isn't like, oh, here, this is in partnership with 8 restaurants in which the owners are involved. The owners are dealing with the people who are working here. We have retired executives that are volunteering and mentoring here. We have 2 culinary arts chefs.
Tell me a little bit about your connection to Cape Ann. Where are you from? Are you from the area? What brought you here?
So I am not from the area. I am from Jersey, but I did grow up on the coast. So the coast has always been very important to me. I ended up coming here to go to school for my undergrad degree and may have left for a few years and even lived inland for a little while.
Boy.
And there's just something different about being on the coast and about having this and
It's your backyard.
this as a playground, as a backyard, as everything. And between the people that are here, the light that we get, the sounds of the water, the fresh breath, the slower pace, there's just a laundry list of things. earlier we were speaking about the motif
Mm-hmm.
and
Would you like to tell us a little bit about what we're looking at?
so what we're looking at here is motif number 1 was an art classes that were taught here roughly 100 years ago, I'm guessing, in which that was the first building that artists were challenged to paint.
Why don't you tell me, Michelle, what are some of your favorite spots here in Cape Ann?
So my favorite, sadly, I can't just pick one spot because there's so many amazing spots along the shore that we're just so lucky to be able to experience. I have a dog that I get to walk, and that is my quality, my peace time. And I get to walk along the coast. Here in Rockport, we have the Atlantic Path, but then also from Atlantic Ave to Marmion Road to all these great streets. Everybody has amazing gardens planted everywhere. And I get to take walks from and look at gardens, to walk on the beach with my dog, to another garden, to another beach. And the dog and I just go from beach to gardens. And I love taking photographs and taking pictures of them and capturing the beauty. And one of my favorite places to sit and be still is Cape Hedge Beach.
Okay.
It is a wonderful little escape. And now that the dogs are allowed on there, I go and the dogs run and romp and play and chase all the seagulls who drop the crabs.
I think before I let you go, is there anything else you want to add that you would like people to know about the Cape Ann Works endeavor? Maybe how they could get in touch with you if they want to volunteer or help, or anything else that you want to tell us?
The cafe will be here every day, even through the winter. We will continue to be training our students and expanding the programs with different baking options and cooking options. And to get in touch with us, we have Facebook, which is Blacksmith Shop. And on Instagram, we are Blacksmith Shop Rockport. And we also have our website, which is capeannworks.com. And through that website, they can also email us.
Perfect. I just want to thank you again for your time. This has been wonderful. I'm so excited. I got to know a lot of things about Cape Ann Works that I didn't know, and that I'm sure the whole community is really excited and happy to learn about. So thank you again, Michelle.
Thank you.
To wrap up our first episode, I'm excited to welcome Eva James. She's our musical guest, and her songs capture the spirit of the coast. Beautiful, dreamlike, resilient, and ethereal. So we're going to talk a little bit about her music, and we're also going to have her perform 2 songs, both originals. One is called Blue Dream, and the other is Invincible. So welcome, Eva. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So I know that you're very in tune with the ocean. And so what I guess my first question is, it feels like a big part of your world. Will you tell us maybe some of your early memories about the ocean?
Yeah, well, I grew up in Gloucester. So a lot of my early memories of life in general are by the ocean. I spent a lot of time at the beach with my best friend growing up. I had a lot of birthday parties there. So very much, I was very much raised on the ocean.
And how do you feel like that has shaped the writing of your songs? Like what part does that play in your music?
It definitely plays a part because the ocean is this, for me, it's this force bigger than myself. It's something that brings me peace, perspective, and music is something that does that as well. And so it only has made sense that they would intertwine these two things that are core parts of who I am.
Okay, so is there a spot on the coast that to you feels most special, or that you have like really special memories about?
Honestly, really anywhere where the ocean is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, anywhere the ocean is. There's a few like beaches I'm extra fond of, but just everything about here and how surrounded by the water it is just feels like home.
Yeah, the energy I feel of the ocean is very healing.
Yes.
Can you recount any time that you feel like being near the ocean maybe helped heal something in you?
All the time, actually. I was there yesterday. Actually, I try to go for a walk on the beach as often as I can. and it's a continuous source of healing for me. The ocean for sure.
And do you think like being around the ocean, does it inspire some creativity for you too?
Definitely. And the song mentioned earlier, Blue Dreams, that one, I love that. I love that song is the song that has like made its way into this show, because that song for me is the song on the album that's the most linked to Gloucester and the ocean.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good segue because I do want to talk about Blue Dream. It has like a nostalgic sort of energy to it.
Yeah,
You
it
know?
does.
Yeah. So,
It does.
what were you thinking? What was going through your mind when you wrote that song?
Yeah, so that song, it's unique for me in the sense that it was inspired by a person, but it's really at its core about what that person stood for, or at least what they stood for, what they symbolized for me in that time, which was youth and freedom, and curiosity, and all these things that do feel a bit nostalgic as well. And that connection was a fleeting connection, but it brought me this song because it prompted me to explore all of these things. I was like, oh, this person has all these really cool qualities that I respect and admire, and I want some of that. I want to embody that myself and feel freer. And that's where the song came
There's a
from.
calm but also emotional energy to that song. And then when I think about Invincible, your other song, it feels like the total opposite of that song. So tell me a little bit about that. It's so bold and so confident. Where is that energy from? Where do you derive that from?
Yeah, so when I wrote Invincible, I mean, the irony of it, but it makes sense when you think of music and its purpose. It was a day where I really was not feeling invincible at all. I live with chronic illness, and it was a particularly rough day for me that day. I was in a tremendous amount of pain, and I sat down at the piano, and I sat down to practice something entirely different, and I wrote Invincible, and it became this kind of reminder to myself that I'm stronger than the things in my life and in my story that try to keep me back, and that I'm able to keep moving forward even when it feels impossible.
Yeah, speaking of your health, I feel like I wonder if the ocean and your music has helped bring some balance to your health situation. And if so, how do you find that connection?
Yeah, there's definitely a link between it, because the ocean is so healing, and music is so incredibly healing. Like I wouldn't be here right now if not for music. It's my life force, my purpose, and where the ocean provides a similar sanctuary, I guess,
Yes.
for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, the two are very, very linked in that way.
So when we talk about the shift in energy between Dream and Invincible, what occurred during that time to help you get to that shift, to make that jump from between those sounds?
Well, those two songs were actually written a couple years apart.
Okay.
But I think the beautiful thing about music is that, like, on an album of 11 songs, each one is like its own time capsule of a moment, a feeling, a frustration, a what if. And the beauty of it is that it's all things that I didn't just experience that one time when I was writing the song. I experience it now in this way, and I'll experience it tomorrow in a different way. And so they don't need any sort of chronological order, because they're all just very just time capsules of truth.
They have a meaning in the time and space when they were created for you, and your connection to this place and the ocean sounds like what helped inspire you to create not just those songs, but a lot of other songs in your life.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So, thinking about the lyrics of the two songs, if you had to pick a lyric from each of those songs that meant something very special to you, tell me which lyric you would choose from each song and why is that so special to you?
That's a really good question. Well, let's see, for Blue Dreams, um, it's a very simple one actually. Invincible would be more poetic and interesting, but for Blue Dreams, I want it all. That line of I want it all. It's so simple and it's just it flows in with the song well and it's catchy, etc. But that line for me holds a bit of a deeper meaning of basically saying to myself, like, I want these things that I'm seeing and wanting to embody in my own life. I want to feel free. I want to feel young.
And also maybe you deserve all of those things as well.
Exactly. So that line for me is a reminder that I can keep aiming to have everything that I want in my life, not just the things that I previously thought I was destined for. It can be a lot more full and there's a lot more life to live.
I love that. It's a great reminder to yourself to know your worth and your value and what life has in store for you and that you can create that for yourself.
Yeah.
And what about Invincible?
Invincible, I've always had the same favorite line of Invincible. These warrior wounds that I carry with pride mark every battle I've fought and survived.
Very intense.
Yes. Though that line, it hits very deep for me. It's very important. It's a symbol really of everything that I've been through to get to where I am. There was a time I didn't think I was going to be on a stage again. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to finish my debut album. I honestly didn't know if I was going to survive, let alone be able to do what I love. And so there are a lot of reminders in my life now that I'm doing so well. And I fought so hard to get here, that remind me just like what it took, and what I have within me to make the life I want a reality.
I can absolutely hear that in your voice and in the lyrics and in the song. Has there ever been a time when you maybe had like writer's block and you weren't quite sure what to write?
Oh yeah.
And the ocean maybe helped you out in that respect?
Oh my goodness. This is such a fitting question actually, because me being the prolific writer that I am, I've already demoed songs for a second album. Just need to find someone to pay for it. But I'm always writing. And recently, actually, I finished a song at the beach because I had this song almost done. It had verses, chord, it had the whole thing, just it didn't have a bridge, and I wasn't sure if it needed one, wasn't trying to write one, and then I was at the beach and I happened to have a guitar in my car, as one does, and and I wrote the bridge for the song at the beach, and there are actually quite a few of the songs on my debut album that have pieces that were thought of like by the ocean and like voice memoed onto the phone real quick to hold on to it. Yeah.
And all right, well, another question regarding the ocean and your songs. Do you integrate anything that you have like seen at the ocean or heard while you're at the ocean, just those feelings into the songs themselves?
I do. I mean, it was very important for me in Blue Dreams that you could hear the ocean in the song.
Okay.
And that was very important. And I wanted it to sound like Gloucester too, specifically. And the most amazing part, like this really shows that I've worked with the most incredible team on this project because I knew I wanted it to sound like Gloucester. I was like, okay, maybe I'll try to get some like audio or something on Gloucester at some point and send it to the engineer. And before I even got the chance to like finish that thought, he had found something that sounded so perfect. It was Gloucester. Like I don't know actually where it was, but it was perfect. It was exactly what it needed with like the seagulls in it and the ocean, the waves. It was perfect. Yeah.
Well, before we hear you play, I know you talked about a second album. So let us know a little bit about what's going on with your second album before we hear some songs from your first album.
Oh, well, oh shoot, now my team's gonna be like, why'd you mention that? No, I'm kidding. I'm a very prolific writer, and I'm just always like, circling back to what you said about writer's block, actually, like I always believe that art in general, whether it's music or any other form of art, it's in phases. It's the living and the creating. So there's periods of living that are equally crucial for the creation of art.
Yes.
And there might not be a lot of creating of art going on in that time because you're doing the living. And then you shift into the creating. And it's this whole other phase where you take the life you've lived and you turn it into art. And so that is what the past couple of years since recording my album in 2023, it took a couple of years to get the album out, because it was the same year that we recorded my album that my health took a decline. And so it took us longer to finish it than it originally would have. And in those 2 years, I've lived a lot of life. I've lived a lot of life, and lived a lot of stories worth telling. And so I've done a lot of writing, and now I have over 20 new songs.
So they have a big album coming up at some point.
At some point, I hope so. Yes, I will find a way to make it happen. So I definitely, this first album is so meaningful and so important in the sense that it saved my life. Finishing this album saved my life, and the next one, whenever I'm lucky enough to be able to make a second album, it's going to tell the story of that whole journey.
Well, I'm really looking forward to that, and I'm also very much looking forward to hearing you play. So I want to thank you for taking the time to come in and talk to us, and so we can learn more about you and about your music. Thank you again, Eva. We're excited to hear you play.
Thank you.
I hear the whispers, but silence speaks louder than words. Pain is a magnet pulling me back to the earth. Guess I'm a runaway, bad to the core. I still don't know what I'm searching for. Call me an outlaw, go ahead, take your aim. Watch all your bullets ricochet, 'cause I'm invincible, stronger than you'll ever know. Beautiful, my fire will never burn low. I'm invincible. Voices in my head altering all that I feel. Darkness surrounds me, but I won't let it take the wheel. These warrior wounds that I carry with pride mark every battle I fought and survived. Call me an outlaw, go ahead, take your aim. Watch all your bullets ricochet, 'cause I'm invincible, stronger than you'll ever know. Beautiful, my fire will never invincible, stronger than you'll ever know, beautiful. My fire will never burn low. I'm invincible, stronger than you'll ever know, beautiful. My fire will never burn low. I'm invincible. I've been seeing blue every time you move. I want it all, rise and fall. Can I drown in an indigo pool of you? I've been chasing ghosts, but I want you the most. Take me away, ask me to stay, let me drown in an indigo pool of you. Lost in the riptide under city lights. No sense of space and time in your ocean smile. I want it all. So contagious, sigh. Wish I could read your mind. Too shy to question your intentions. Would you drown in an indigo pool of me? Lost in the riptide under city lights. No sense of space and time in your ocean smile. I want it all. I want it all. I want it all. Better? That felt better.
This concludes our first episode of The Magic Coast. I want to thank Jim Clyde, Michelle Brown, and Eva James for sharing their stories and songs with us. And thank you for joining us. For all of the information and to see more, please follow Bear Cove Productions on Instagram at Bear Cove Productions.
I want it all.